Good day, everyone. My name is David Ellis, and today I'm here with a very dear friend of mine on the Integrative Health Network. Her name is Linda Yablonski. I am not even going to try to introduce you, Linda. Tell us who you are and your background.
Who am I? I like to be called Linda Gloriously, but legally my name is Linda Yablonski. And what is my background? Well, my background is working with women. It has been for years and years. I taught belly dance for 25 years and supporting women and in coming comfortable with their body.
Mm-hmm.
And supporting them through, lots of emotions, getting them up on stage if they chose that.
Mm-hmm.
My work continues through the grief work and the anger work that I've been doing alongside of all of those years, just unofficially. And now in the last few years, realizing that this is really where my calling is. And so how did I get to the grief work? My sister died 7 years ago from suicide, and it rocked my world.
Mm-hmm.
And through lots of different means, and especially the ones that I use in the workshop, I have come to a place of deeper understanding and forgiveness of myself and for her, and wanting to help other people experience that.
Mm-hmm.
Because our emotions, especially anger and grief, are so big that we take them sometimes because we've never been taught how to deal with them. We end up stuffing them into our body in different places. So if we have, especially anger, that can be stuck in our liver. This is Chinese medicine. I didn't make this up. Okay. That's how acupuncture runs. So then you end up with liver situation, liver problems. Grief is in the lungs. And so sometimes what happens is the grief is layered down, and then like my sister dying, and then I was so angry at her, and it was like I'm not allowed to say how angry I am at her in situations, like in front of her daughter or things. So it got packed in, and then then there's more grief, and then there's more anger, and then there's more grief, and then more anger, and so they kind of are like layers. People are so afraid that when they start to let those layers come out, that it's going to be a never-ending volcano. And that's how I find a lot of people don't end up doing this deep inner work to release these emotions from their body. They don't have a place that they feel safe, positive, that it's never going to stop flowing. Like if they open that door and let that wild animal loose, it's going to be never ending, and they're never going to be able to go back to their regular life. I can guarantee you that is not going to happen, because our own higher source is never going to let us implode like that. It's also not going to let us explode like that. And so layers come up, and we can take those layers off. And then maybe a month later, a week later, a year later, we take more layers off. I was very, very, very fortunate to have already been exposed to the tools that I use for the grief work. Over many years of dance and somatic work that I had taken many, many different kinds of workshops through modern dance, through belly dance, but also through therapies. And so using my voice, being able to let the sounds of grief out, allow that. We don't allow the sounds of pleasure, of sexual pleasure to come out. So allowing ourselves that spaciousness, the space that I hold in the event, and able to not be up here at all. It's dropping into the heart. That's why it's called authentic heart. Dropping into the heart and really allowing whatever bubbles up. People are always surprised. They're like, yeah, I don't have anything on grief. No, I'm just going because I'm here to support Linda. I've heard that so many times over the years. And then, like, especially when I was grieving my sister, I would create evenings where I needed cathartically to move my body and to speak and to vocalize. And I knew other people needed it too. They were coming, they thought, for me, to support me. And at the end of it, they would always be like, wow, that I feel so good. I didn't even realize I was still holding on to this anger, grief, regrets, resentments, even joy gets stuck in there. So you've got your, here's the joy of my little granddaughter being born just a few months before my sister. Like, that was just like, holy moly. I didn't know it could be that fabulous. And then my sister dies. So it had a cap on top of my joy. So when these things come up and out and off in a healthy, safe environment, then we have more space inside our body, inside every organ of our body, in our cells, to be able to allow more joy to come in. People think they can stop the process by not thinking about it. Flow through the body.
There's a lot to unpack in what you just said, a lot to unpack, and I'm going to unpack it all. Thank you for saying all of that. The first thing I want to clarify is this workshop is an open workshop for men and women, because men have a problem with being messy. Okay?
So do women.
I want you to address that first of all. A lot of men are carrying around a lot of grief, and they are not allowed to express it. As part of that is cultural, but the other part of it is that they believe that it takes something away from them to be messy. You want to address that one?
Yeah, absolutely. It's so interesting. Part of it comes from our childhood. How we're raised. I'm going to say in this culture, because that's where I was raised, is children are not to be heard, right? Keep your voice down. And so that gets, boys are not allowed to cry, all that kind of just horrible belief systems that we have been handed down from our parents, that's what they were taught. So how are they supposed to know any different? And now it's becoming more it's more commonplace that people are understanding that this is not healthy for any of us. More and more and more children are being diagnosed with asthma because they can't breathe in. Why can't they breathe in? They can't breathe in because they're not able to take in life, because there's so much frigging grief from their parents, from the environment around them, from their ancestors. So having a space to be able to give ourselves permission to be messy and know that it's so confidential. No one is going to talk about you afterwards. No one's going to say, oh yeah, did you see that one guy crying in the corner? It's going to be like, oh my God, you are so celebrated for being here, for doing the hard work. People don't want to do the hard work. They just want to have superficial relationships. You can't have a deep and meaningful relationship unless you do the hard work. We gotta, and it doesn't always have to be hard. We have fun too. Like sometimes we burst out laughing. I don't know what's going to surface, but more joy comes in at the end of the event.
Correct. That's the first thing. The second thing that I want to unpack is, in today's world, things are not getting any easier for people. I believe that the majority of the population are in this kind of frozen state, waiting for the other shoe to drop. So you mix grief with anxiety about the future, or anxiety about where you are in the world, their relationships, and so on. And when the two collide inside that, it creates a kind of frozen state. And a lot of people are living in a frozen state until they come to a workshop like yours or the cacao ceremony that we did. And then it begins to flow. And I just want to say that if people are listening to this, there's a reason why workshops like this is necessary. A lot of y'all are living in a frozen state. Y'all know it. Y'all feel it. Something is wrong, and y'all are not experiencing joy anymore. Linda, this is the thing that really kills joy in people's lives. And I want you to try to explain to these people this mechanism, because a lot of people are in the state where joy is something that they remember from when they were younger.
Do you know how many people in the last 6 months have told me, I don't know how to tune into my joy, Linda.
Yeah.
I don't know how to access. I don't know how to express. And I'm just like in a state of shock because I have big emotions. So I have huge anger, grief, rage, everything. I also have huge joy. For me to live in that middle state is so neutral. It's foreign and scary to me. But because of those big emotions and being comfortable with them, I can help others also. What I wanted to say was in other cultures, so traditionally,
Mm-hmm.
you know, years and years and years and years ago, every culture had a ceremony, a ritual to be able to release. So I'm talking about around the fire with drums, and someone dies and the whole tribe comes around and they drum and they cry together and they vocalize. They don't hold it in. They dance together when there's a celebration, a baby's born, a marriage, they're dancing together. We just don't have those kind of things anymore. We don't have those kind of opportunities. And I'm talking about they're doing this weekly, not, oh, I got invited to a wedding this summer and I haven't been to a wedding in 5 years. So I got to dance publicly. That we just don't have those kind of opportunities in our culture, which is making us all sick.
Yes. I've seen it in the bodies of people. They're literally walking around in a vice grip of fascia, and everything is just tightening. And a lot of people do not understand that the emotions that you experience when forced down is going to impact your nervous system. Your nervous system is going to send the wrong messages to the wrong places. And then you have all sorts of organ issues, system issues, and so on. There is something that you mentioned there a little earlier on pertaining to the way grief works. Now, in my time as a counselor, back in the day, we used to have the 5 stages of grief. And that's like, and I always was against this concept because the stages don't go through like that. It's never neat. It's never neat. Some people will put the denial first and stick in that for 20 years. And this is another issue that people have. People think that there's a time limit as to when grief can pass. It's hilarious to me. So, a loved one die, you're allowed like 10 days of mourning, and after the first couple of months you do this, and then a couple of months after. It is not a neat process. Grieving is not a neat process, and this 5 stages of grief, I think this was very bad for some people, because what it did is it told people what they're supposed to feel as to what they're feeling. From my experience, when grief hits or when a loved one is passed or something like that, what you feel is never very neat. Some of the stuff that you feel is completely unexpected.
And it's interesting because when I had learned about the 5 stages of grief years and years ago when I did another form of counseling.
Mm-hmm.
And it's beautiful work, but the work was created when she did Kubler-Ross, right?
Yes, correct.
She did that work. She was actually studying people who were dying, not the people who were left behind. So in fact, possibly, because I haven't died yet, there are 5 stages of grief when you are dying. But when you're the left behind person, so when my sister died, I learned about the fact that that is for the people who are dying, not the people who are left behind. I was like, oh my gosh, I want to be like a doula for the people who are left behind, because this is friggin' hard. The people who passed, they're back where we came from. They're in pure light. They're joy. They're blissed out. They're just like, they're not worried about anything anymore. We're worried about it. So having all the options, there's not 5 options. There's a billion options.
Correct.
You got anger and grief. And guess what? joy because your granddaughter comes over, and they're all happening at the same time.
Yes.
They're all happening at the same time. And we think, oh, this is weird. I shouldn't have, how many times do we do this and
It's okay.
cross our arms? That only creates breast cancer, right? Women are always crossing their arms, holding in their emotion, holding in their opinion. And then what do we get? We get no flow through the lymphatic. And so then why are we surprised that we have breast cancer? Well, it's so obvious to me. We're not nurturing ourselves, and we have all this stuff stuck down, 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 down. So this whole thing about the stages, my sister died 7 years ago. So 1 month ago, when I thought you and I were going to have an interview, I was a big friggin' puddle of tears for 3 solid weeks. I have never cried like that on her birthday before. I was in shock.
Mm-hmm.
I was reading all sorts of stuff going, what is happening here? It's as if she just left. I was so surprised because I've done so much work getting this grief and this anger moving through my body and not holding on to the emotions.
Mm-hmm.
Like someone said to me, there's actually a thing. There's actually just like we get the 7-year itch when we're first married and we think, oh, we're going to be married forever. And then we're like, who are you? It's 7 years. And we know that. I mean, you and I know that the body can reconstruct every single cell and make a brand new liver in 7 years, but we have to support it. We have to support
Yes, you have to support it and actually do work, which is the other aspect that I want to talk to you about. People who are grieving lack support. They lack support because I'm going to say something that everybody watching this broadcast is going to say, are you the kind of person when your loved one loses a loved one can hold their heart? Can you hold space? Do you think you are? Do you think you are that kind of person? Because it's not easy. It's easier to say, of course I am that kind of person. I'm a good person. It has nothing to do with being a good person. When you experience secondhand anguish, you become uncomfortable because it's not generated from you, it's generated from somebody that you love. And a lot of people think that they are about that life. And so people who are grieving lacked support from even the people that are closest to them, because the people that are closest to them can't hold their heart when it is sinking.
Absolutely. I had this exact experience when my sister did die. I was reading lots of different things. And so I would share it in the family chat. And one of the people in the family chat, because, it had been sort of quiet for a little bit. And I posted something saying, I found this book to be really helpful. And someone said, oh, are we going to talk about that again?
Wow.
It's only been a few months since she died. What does that mean exactly? Because I plan on talking about her for the rest of my life. She was my best friend. I'm not going to not talk about her. Mm-hmm. And so, oh, wow, that really hurt my heart. Yeah, in my family, right? And even through this, I go like this because these last 3 weeks, reaching out to a few people who I trusted, and they couldn't hold me.
Yeah.
They could not. They're like, look, I'm this, I'm doing that. I've got this going on in my life. And I'm actually grateful that they gave me the boundary, because it was like, okay, thank you. I need to find someone who can hold me in this, because I'm really good at holding people in their anger and grief, but I needed someone to set a container for me, hold me while I was going through this process. And I do have a few close people who can do that for me, thank goodness, but not everybody does.
I think a lot of people don't even know what that means, right? I think a lot of people don't even know what that means. Holding somebody in grief, or holding somebody's heart, or holding space is more than just listening to the individual. You have to empathize, which means that there has to be some sort of connection. You need to be that regulator.
And we think, like, when we're holding space for someone, we think we're supposed to fix it for them.
Yes, there's that too.
Never, 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 never. Because if we can hold that sacred container and that person has the opportunity to vocalize and get out what it is that they needed to say, or pound their bed. When I was angry, holy crap, I pounded my bed a lot because I was like, how dare you? How did you leave? Why did you leave? Like, I was so angry. And so this anger coming out, everybody wants to fix it for me. And I'm like, I don't need your advice. I don't need your unless your advice is
That's a very, you see, the people you're describing, I already know most of them are men. I already know that most of them are men. And I'm saying,
no,
women do this now.
no.
Okay, listen, just some advice for the people in the audience who are watching this. Um, Sometimes people don't need you to fix stuff for them. They might just need you to hold their hand. That might be what they need. They don't even need your words. They definitely don't need your advice. They might just need you to hold your hand. And I think a lot of people go into the logic centered process of the brain when it is that they're holding space and say, I can fix that. You can't fix somebody who's passed. You can't fix loss, as an example.
No.
I don't know, Linda. I have seen some very weird things. I've seen people try to help people who are grieving by literally verbally attacking them to snap them out of their grief. And I'm like, and I'm like, I know that your intention is good, but your methods are evil in and of themselves on its face.
And then that shame that they're creating is another layer in that messy, nasty cake that is getting baked, literally baked into your body.
Yeah.
And so we don't need that shame. When I have seen, and I have personally experienced it myself, where someone actually has the capacity to hold it for me, to hold the space for me, well, I just say blah, 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 and this stuff, and then at 10 minutes later, I'm like, no, wow, I don't even know what I just said. But they didn't interrupt me. They didn't fix me. They didn't give me advice.
Mm-hmm. Didn't attack you either.
I fixed me.
Mm-hmm.
I let out those layers, right? So yeah, it's powerful,
Mm-hmm.
powerful when we have the space to be able to do it. And it's a, sorry, where did I go? Am I back? Okay.
Yes, you are.
It's a space that's sadly foreign. It shouldn't be foreign.
Yeah, a lot of people think that they have some misconceptions around grief and how it's supposed to look. Right? There's something that I want to actually talk about, which you are an expert on, actually, and that is grief and the movement of your body. Now, Linda, I'm going to out you. Linda was a belly dance instructor, everybody's for years, okay? So I am assuming that you know about emotions and grief and the movement of the body to let it out. Um, a
That's
lot of people are not somatically trained. They don't know what that word means. All they know is that it sounds very pretty and it has to do with like some psychobabble stuff. No, the kind of talking we're talking about has to do with touch and movement. So, Linda, please explain to people why it is important that when you are in grief, sometimes you have to move.
so it's so interesting because in the Bible, I'm just going to use that because a lot of people know about it. There's references to tearing of their clothes, tearing of
Yes.
their clothes. And it's because you are in such anger, grief, sorrow, confusion, despair, disbelief, and you just don't know what to do. So you just start ripping your clothes, pulling out of the hair. When my sister died,
Mm-hmm.
I honestly wanted to pull my hair out of my head. I needed something to give me to bring me back to earth. I needed to feel something to bring me back into my body, because I just wanted to go with her. And so I didn't pull my hair out, because I was also doing the ceremony for her celebration, and I didn't want people to be like, oh, Linda, why are there patches of hair missing from your head? But I understand that deep grief of wanting to like tear and rip and just like pound my bed. We need to move our body to get the emotions out. So thank you for this beautiful question, because part of this workshop is verbalizing. So using words, but also using sounds. Part of the workshop is moving. That's why we take the 4 hours, so that we have time in between to integrate, to do a bit of journaling, and then we move to the next section. But the movement part is such a beautiful work that we have the anger song, and we dance like crazy, like we're having a tantrum. And then we have the grief song. And even if you're not in the mood to cry right now, someone beside you might be crying a really deep, deep howl, and it helps you. It kind of ignites in you that vibration of, oh, actually, I do have some tears that are coming, that are starting to bubble. And here's the thing. I know men have this too. But I'm going to use the female body right now, just because it's very, very obvious to most people that women have a uterus. And what does our uterus hold except creativity, right? A baby, creativity. If that uterus is, and it is, a magnetic, beautiful container, we're also holding grief, anger, sorrow, regrets, and a whole bunch of other things. Some of them don't even belong to us. So here we got this beautiful uterus that could be creating new ideas and all sorts of things, but it's full of all these emotions. We need to be able to let those out without the story.
I want to just give a little bit of a factoid here to the audience. The top leading cancers for women are in the uterus and in the breast. That is not accidental.
Exactly. And it's not necessarily ours. That's what I'm also trying to help people understand.
Correct.
People say, I'm crying, but I don't know why. You don't need to know. You don't need to know what the story is. Sometimes there's a story. Sometimes I get like a thread of, oh, I think this is from when I was little. Oh, I think this is from my mother. Oh, I think this is, I don't even know what this is. Doesn't matter. Let it out. So through that movement, the body is free to start those emotions, kind of like, this is going to sound crazy, but kind of like an old-fashioned car, cranking the car, you know, that.
Yeah, correct.
Getting that movement started so that the rest of the car can ignite, right? In this space where we're all having an adult tantrum, because we weren't allowed to have them when we were children. We were shushed, we were shamed, we were reprimanded, punished when we were having a tantrum, because we had strong emotions. They had to come out of our little body so we could fall asleep, but we weren't allowed. So now we get to have those tantrums. And I've had people say to me, Linda, I love you and I really want to support your work, and I'm like, no, I want to support your work. That's why. But they're actually afraid. And I said, are you afraid of me? At first, I wasn't sure. Are they afraid of me? Are they afraid I'm going to make them do something? And then they're like, no, I'm afraid, because exactly what you said. I don't want to be messy. I don't want to cry in front of other people. And it's like, wow.
Because there is judgment there, and some of the judgment is self-judgment. Because I never thought that this was a thing amongst women. This was used to be a thing that was predominantly in the male category. Now I am seeing a shift in the dimensions where women are now having self-judgment around being messy and being emotional. I am wondering when that changed. Because I want to say something here. Like, and this is going to sound sexist. I'm going to say it. Women, a friend of mine put it beautifully. She said, a mutual friend of ours actually, she said, women are like a web. When something twinges on one part of the web, the whole web feels it. And so you trying to isolate pieces of that web is literally causing stagnation, stiffness, a sort of calcification in your entire network. I'm not talking about just the body, your psychological network, your emotional network, and so on. You think you could isolate one part of the web without compromising the whole web? Yeah, you're going to have a problem.
Exactly. And also spiritually, right? So when you're calcified, the spirit is trying to come in to ascend, and ascension is here at the bottom.
Mm-hmm.
We got to go down to ascend. We have to get in our body. We chose to come here to have this experience, to experience all the emotions. Am I thrilled about the anger and the grief? No, but I know that it's necessary for me to be able to stay in my body, to stay here on earth, and to ground myself and be able to hold that vastness for other people.
Yeah. Yeah, and I'm very excited that you're doing this. I'll be very honest with you, and I'll tell you why. Um, because not a lot of people are brave enough to try to do that kind of workshop in today's day and age. A lot of people they're not brave enough. I know a bunch of counselors all over the place. You think they're going to try to do this? They're not going to do it because the messiness means that you're going to have to hold a container that is huge, right? Because there are people that are walking around, and I'm going to say this, it used to be, this is not the 60s, right? This is now 2025. We have a ratio of 90% of the people that you are going to meet are holding something inside.
Yeah. And because of my shamanic training,
mm-hmm.
the container is not just Linda's capacity. Linda's capacity is very limited, but the infinite capacity of the guides and the ancestors, the benevolent ancestors who are coming here, our archangels, that we're all creating this beautiful container, which we create together in that moment at the event, and that holds. So this is the beauty of the work. Earlier you asked me, have you done this before? Well, unofficially, I've done this for years and years.
Mm-hmm.
But since doing the shamanic work and putting this work inside of a shamanic container, I was blown away at how much we can transmute out of our bodies when we're exponentially able to transmute more than when I do this work one-on-one with people.
Well, there's no amount of money that can pay for that kind of service that you're offering there. You're offering them freedom. You're offering people freedom, and freedom is a wonderful thing. It is a wonderful thing, and most people don't even know what that means. Right? Freedom is some nebulous concept in the ethers that children have that we don't have, and they think it's impossible if you're an adult to experience a sense of freedom. And this is the first thing I just want to comment on that, because when we're talking about why this workshop is necessary, I want to just connect with the audience here. Why this workshop is necessary is because if everybody's in the audience right now who's watching this broadcast, close your eyes. Tell me, you're 100% okay inside? You're good? Everything feels correct? Is it feel like you want it to feel? And then you have to ask yourself, why not? And then the mind automatically goes to, what are the events and things that are blocking me from feeling okay? What is this tightness that I feel? From the time that you understand that the tightness comes from events and things that you have inside your system that are unresolved, you need to ask yourself, do I have the capacity to remove them myself? Do I feel supported? Am I judging myself? Is that why I am in this tight state, that ball in your throat, that fog in your head, right? That heaviness in your chest and your shoulders and in the back of your heart. All of those things are not good feelings. They're leading you down a path of illness. You want to know why this workshop is necessary? Because that little exercise, if you try to do that and be aware of your body and just map where you're feeling it, you will know that something is wrong. You need to do something. You can't stay like this. This is not how life was meant to be lived. And I'm sure you can agree with this.
Absolutely. And the thing that I would add is the other thing that was so surprising to me 3 weeks ago on my sister's birthday was what also came up, what also bubbled up from underneath that I haven't thought about for years was when my aunt died when I was 10.
Yes.
And I didn't understand grief. My parents didn't understand grief. They couldn't put words to it. They took us to the funeral and they took us home. Nothing was ever talked about, except this happened to be my favorite aunt, so it really impacted me. But I didn't even know how to ask. And that grief has been stuck in my body since I was a little child. Impacted, the impactions in my womb, in my body. And so that bubbled up just 50 some years later, right?
Yeah. Yeah. It's not only that people are losing the ability to feel grief and be messy. In their personal relationships, they're losing the connection to passion. They're losing the connection to desire and all those things. We are becoming just like system automatons, right? We're system robots. That's what we're becoming. And if you're living in a body that is made out of flesh and blood and hormones and all that good stuff, you feeling like that is a recipe for ill health. Okay? You can't be your computer, you can't be your tablet, and you definitely can't be your phone. That is the lie that most people think, because a lot of people choose to be functional rather than to be human. You see the difference? So I'll give you a classic example. You have a mother of 3 kids, the mother may be single. She has to get those kids up, get them dressed, go to school, and so on. And her response would be something like, ain't nobody got time for releasing grief. Not realizing that your children will adapt things that are not theirs, that are yours, when they see you suffering. And then you have a second generation of pain growing right in your midst that you are responsible for. And this is why people make excuses for not doing work. Like they say, I'm too busy. I have 3 kids. I have no husband. I have no wife, or whatever the case may be. I got to do what I got to do. You got to do what you got to do. But what you actually have to do is the work. You do.
Yeah. And we also, here's the beautiful part, that responsibility also comes with the gift of being able to clear ancestral baggage, of being able to release let's say me, I'm releasing myself from anything that was trickling up, and my lineage, my children and my grandchildren, I'm freeing them from having to ever experience that.
Yes. You know how many times, Linda, you must have heard this over the years, where people come into your office and they're talking about grief and they're talking about their parents and their parents suffering, and mom did this and mom went through that and so on. And they're feeling the mother stuff. It has nothing to do with their present lives. I mean, some of them have they have a wonderful life, but they're very unhappy and they don't know why.
Yep.
Which is another thing I want to say, which is I want to get in. Grief is contagious and it can be transferred. It absolutely can to some unwitting person, especially if they're in the developmental stages of their life. You can transfer your grief to your kids. You can. A lot of people don't know that.
Yeah.
And a lot of people are suffering from parental grief. Um, I think for our purposes, I want to get into the workshop itself. So, Linda, you're having this on Saturday, but you're going to have this regularly. Is that correct?
I've planned already that I'm going to have it the third Saturday afternoon of every month.
Uh
And,
huh.
it'll be at Tribal Vibes Wildfire. So that's on the corner of Broad and 7th.
Hmm.
And people bring their yoga mat, their blankie, their pillow, their journal, their water bottle,
Hmm.
and their t-shirt, because during the rage part we get to rip our t-shirt off, and it's so satisfying. It's so satisfying. Even if right at that moment I don't feel like ripping it, someone else might be ripping, and it's like, oh yeah, and then you start ripping your shirt. It's very satisfying. So you got to bring an old t-shirt that you can rip, and you wear it over top of what we're wearing. So there's no nudity or anything, but it's very satisfying to rip off. And
Mm.
yeah, and then just settling in and spending the 4 hours, and um it's so
Connecting.
so beautiful to witness. People always ask me, oh, Linda, you must be so exhausted. Absolutely energized, because when people are releasing that which no longer serves them and
Hmm.
more coming into their body, we all feel that.
Yes.
And I am never exhausted. I'm always completely joyous when, the end of the session comes, and I'm like, wow, yeah.
And this is once again, I want to reiterate, this is not just a women's workshop. She's opening this to everybody. So the men who are listening to this, who are in this macho vibe, that macho vibe might be shortening your life. So you can make a choice: carry the weight or shed it.
Yeah.
That's basically what it comes down to.
Yes. Yeah.
I also wanted to focus on a number of things. So this workshop is this last Saturday, you said?
Third.
The third Saturday of every month. And I wanted to just simply ask, what are people expected to, in terms of donations and stuff, to your workshop? What are they expected to pay and stuff like that?
So it's $66
Excellent.
for the afternoon. Yeah.
That sounds like a lot of work for $66. Wow. Okay, I might show up actually, now that I think of it. Right. So that's actually a lot of work that you're doing. So that's very good community service. You're opening it to the entire community, right?
Mhm.
All right. So Linda, do you offer these services online as well?
Yes. Yes. I actually started doing work online during COVID. That's how I started. And I thought, can I do this over Zoom? And it was phenomenal, but it was, again, mostly one-on-one, and then it got to be bigger groups. And I do love being in person with people, but yes, people can do online workshops as well. So this
Okay.
particular one, okay, I'm not going to say that. I'm going to say I'm open to whatever.
Okay. Excellent. My question is, Linda, give these people a way to contact you.
Yeah, the best way is to text me directly. And can we add my phone number somewhere? Because I
So I
won't.
can do that while you are talking. So just give me a moment.
Yeah. So yeah, I don't pick up random phone calls, but I will answer texts if you say, hey, I'm interested in the authentic heart or whatever. Tell me about your workshop, or I can't come this weekend, but I want to sign up for November, which is November 15th. I wrote it down somewhere. Yes, November 15th. Um, yeah.
Okay, so Linda, let me have your phone number.
306
Mm-hmm.
537 8890.
Excellent. So, guys,
It can connect with me on Facebook too, well, whatever. Yeah, Linda Yablonski.
this is Linda's phone. For those of you who are interested, and Linda, do you have an email?
I do. It's bdwl@me.com.
For those of you who don't know, that spells Belly Dance with Linda.
Even though I don't dance anymore, but yes.
But at me.com, correct?
Yeah.
Excellent. Okay, so Linda, closing thoughts. Tell us what we can expect in that workshop, because people are going to think, is it just going to be like just grief, 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 cry, cry, cry? So let us know what to expect.
Yeah, it's everything. Because first of all, when you walk into that studio, because it's in the basement, you walk into the studio, and honestly, the first time I went there, I'm like, whoa, this is like a womb. Like you feel like you're walking into a cave, into a womb space. So it feels very held, which is really beautiful. And then there is some sharing that we do it as the group, but also in partners. And I've seen people at the end of partner work, total strangers, twice as old. This girl is 20 years old and this girl is 50 years old. And they're changing phone numbers because they were perfectly matched, that their stories were so similar.
Yes.
I pick partners. Spirit picks partners. So afterwards they're like, oh, I really connected with so and so. And I'm like, did you know her before? No, we just shared phone numbers, and like really deep connections because someone listened.
Yes, finally.
Yeah. And there's like, I also am making sure there's times in between where people can pause for 5 or 10 minutes to journal. Some people just want to lay there and just let it come through, because every time we get a layer out, there's another wave that comes through to get things to bubble up. So yeah, it's a very sacred space.
Okay, so for those of you who are thinking or on the fence about going to this workshop, I'm going to give my endorsement. I've known Linda for a little while now. She is the person, she's very respected in what she does. So, guys, check out Linda at 306-537-8890, or email her at bellydancewithlinda@me.com. That would be her, not me, right? So there is that. For those of you who are on the fence, I'm going to tell you, just from a therapeutic aspect, this kind of workshop, we need more of this out here. There are very few people who are willing to do this kind of community work, because honestly speaking, that's what it is. It is supporting people and allowing people to support each other. For those of you who are hurting out there, I'm going to tell you that right now, this kind of workshop you will never get again for $66. Absolutely not. Right? And it sure beats a psychotherapist at 150 telling you the 5 stages of grief. It will also allow you to actually meet people who are going through the same things that you guys are going through.
Yeah.
Right? Which is very important when we're talking about healing. Guys, check out Linda's workshop. Linda, any last words? Not last words, but you know what I mean. Right?
In the fact that if people are, if there's something vibrating for people, it probably is calling you.
Yes.
Even if that vibration is feeling new, unusual, scary, oh shit, like let that enliven you, because that is the like the drawing in. It's where you to be.
Good. Guys, we will see you later. Linda, just stand by. But guys, we will see you in the next interview. Take care.